Okay, so it's 3:17 on the 5th, Tuesday. Yesterday we went and floated after I got back from the grooming thing, which the grooming thing went so much better yesterday. I was like, oh, okay, I can handle this. This isn't bad because all I had to do was shampoo and dry. I was like, I can do that. I can shampoo and dry. I just don't want to be sitting there. Yeah, even when I was holding the dog while she was doing all the other stuff, the dogs are so anxious. It's so crazy because these dogs go like every month and they all come in just shaking, scared shitless. And then as soon as you start doing anything, they start yelping. You cut their nails, they're crying, everything. And then especially when she was cleaning their ears, and I was like, oh, I can't do that. I can't see. And then plus I'm paranoid of getting bit. That I can't just sit there and make something cry. Right now, Max won't, he won't let me near him. He won't let me near him with aloe vera. He'll take CBD. He won't eat the food that I make. Yesterday, I got out some canned food, and he would eat that. It's like, I don't know what the hell's in the canned food. Probably fucking some addictive shit. They all go crazy as soon as I open a can. They run over there like, oh, it's the best smell in the world. Oh my God. And I'm going to switch back to no meat again in their food. So this time when I go to the store, I'm not getting them meat for their food. They're just eating beans and vegetables. And let me think. Oh, the groomer, she's vegan. And she gave me some supplement to put into their food. And then she said also she had quinoa has a lot of protein in it. So I don't know. I'm going to look up if dogs, how quinoa is for dogs. So I might get them something like that. But I'm just going to focus on beans and vegetables for them. And then also I'll put rice or potatoes or quinoa or something. And then with Max, oh, I forgot to put the colloidal silver this morning in Stella's. God, I've got so many things to put in them. It's like, oh my God, the turkey tail, the yeast pills. I put turmeric, ginger, this new vegan supplement that smells like fish. It smells so fishy. As soon as I open it, Max jumps up and runs in there like, whoa, what do you got? I mean, not Max, Archie. But Max wouldn't eat anything this morning. Stella and Archie did. But I had, I was going to put the colloidal silver too. Oh yeah, and the oregano oil. I forgot about that one too. But I'm going to keep doing that one in Max's because it's a little infection thing. But he won't let me touch it. It's like right here. I think he hit himself with his nail. That's how one of her dogs ended up getting its eye removed. The dogs were playing and one of the dogs hit into his eye and popped it out with a nail. And her eye was hanging out and the dog was crying. Mom had to rush her up to the emergency. They had to dig her eye out. And she's got a cat that was one-eyed. And that one, it came as a kitten because she's rescued and stuff. She's got so many cats that were feral, like left out in the streets and stuff. And but when she got Jack, he's one-eyed Jack. I love that cat. He his eye was hanging out. She said it was so infected and hanging out, so he had to get his eye removed. And he was a little tiny baby, so he's only had one eye always since he was little. But Lily, she was old when she got hers out, but she's got the same kind of eyes as these. She's like some kind of Chihuahua mix or something. And because that was a dog that was somebody's dog until it got old. She's got two. The people just said, here, will you take my dog? When the dog was old. And they just gave it. That Lily, she was old when she got her eye out. And she has these round eyes that kind of go out. So that's, I'm always kind of paranoid about these two. It's like, and now he's got this thing right next to his eye. But it definitely doesn't seem like it's getting worse. So I'm just going to keep trying to treat it with stuff. If it starts getting really puffed out and stuff, I'm just going to have to scry. Because the thing of the punctures you got to watch out is if they start healing on the inside, if the outside heals over before the inside heals, because it has to heal from the inside out. Otherwise, it creates pus pockets and gets infected, and then you have an infection going. One time, this was the grossest thing. Oh my God. It was when I was working in the ER, and this girl came in and she had a dog bite, and she'd had it for like, she'd already come in, I guess, and got treated. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but it was pretty big bites. And or maybe she hadn't come in or anything, but so it'd been like a week since she got the bite or something, and they were infected. This doctor that I was working with, he really liked infection stuff, so they gave it to him. And so he went in and he had to open the wound, like, you know, just like what I'm saying, take the scab off the top. And oh my God, you wouldn't even believe how much pus came out of that thing. Oh God, it was so, it was the most thing, it was the most pus I've ever seen come out of something. It was, oh God, it was so much, and he just kept squeezing it and squeezing it. It was so disgusting. But anyways, there are some things I did want to talk about. Hold on, let me get a drink. It's only a second cup. That was so hot I couldn't drink it. And then it starts being like, fuck, I'm gonna forget all the things I want to talk about. Okay. One of them is a video I just saw, and he was talking about in Cambodia, there's 3,000 temples. That's a thing too. Like everybody focuses, because I also saw a video talking about the pyramids. There's still people who are still trying to be like, what about these pyramids? Like how could they have built them and stuff like that? And it's so funny because when I was a kid, I was like, I didn't care what anybody said. I knew that they were built by what we think of as aliens and advanced society. I just couldn't figure out what they had done. Like I didn't know about the resets and stuff, so I didn't know how were we getting so advanced, and then all of a sudden, and I figured they had to wipe us out at some point. There had to be, you know, some kind of thing where we all died, but still, I couldn't understand why our government or why the people who tell us the stories were so set on that these were, you know, made by ancient people who weren't advanced. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Why do they constantly want to tell us that? Well, it makes sense now. It didn't make sense to me back then. I knew there was some shenanigans because I was birthed into that whole idea of conspiracy. So I was always, and I think that comes from that life, the past life one where I got hung, because it seems like that was like a, like you watch out who you trust. So the I saw a guy who he does past life regression. Well, it seems like he wasn't doing them or something, because he was on a podcast and he was saying he had hypnotized this person to try and, maybe he's a counselor or something. He had hypnotized this person to try and help them. So you're just gonna have to lay down, honey. Just lay down. It's her hips that are bothering her. You can come over here and lay, or go on your bed and lay. I already gave her medicine. She's already eaten. I put a bunch of supplements in her food. Still, there's nothing I can do. Let me finish this, okay? She always wants me to know she's uncomfortable. Always wants me to know when she's uncomfortable. My daughter says it's because I was baby. Oh, honey. So she just whines at me because that's our communication. She whines, I jump. And I do, like you can see, she whines and it like startles me. It makes me, and it starts giving me anxiety as soon as she does it. But sometimes I feel like when I'm doing this, it's interference, like something is irritating her to irritate me. So, okay, let me think back, because I'm already skipping. I wanted to say more about the Cambodia thing. But Okay, let me finish this thing with this guy. Okay, so this counselor guy. Oh yeah, because that kind of goes. Okay, let me finish the Cambodia thing first. Because the Cambodia thing. So there's all these temples, which I know that some of um, the oldest societies or something come from over like up by the Orient or something, like over by China and stuff, or like even where they have the Great Wall of China, and they told us it was, well, I don't know, to protect China or whatever, but it's turned the wrong way. And then people who find these old maps and find Tartaria, and then I don't know, all the people who do all these research on this stuff, but they're always saying, you know, there's the giants in Tartaria and stuff. I know that we lived with a mix before. There wasn't just one group. Like, even if you go to the the writings on the walls in like in Egypt and stuff like that, on the pyramids, they have people that are half people and not full, like, human, you know, like they got a cat head or a dog head or all those kinds of things. And that one time when I was in that one QHHT and I went before that committee, the one guy who was talking looked like a vulture. Everything is like, we think it has to look like us to have value, and that's our own lack, our own smallness of thinking, whatever that word would be. I can't think. It's our own. It's our own weakness. So to think that way, and to not value, but see, that's where humanity is. It doesn't even know how to value animals and stuff. And we are conquerors, and we conquer and we eat, but that is literally going over free will of another animal. And that's where people don't understand. There's more to this stuff about eating animals and stuff. And this, especially at this point in time where there's just this slaughtering all the time. And but that is where, you know, turnaround was going to kind of enter our existence when we start realizing that we have been also under slaughter. That's going to, I think, help with perspective. But so anyways, over in the Orient, though, I know there's older civilizations, and I think that there is, you know, I know that we've lived with other beings and stuff. So anyways, but on this Cambodia thing with all these temples, and I saw this guy and he was talking about this one temple and all the healing and stuff, abilities and stuff, like, and the way they would set things and do things, it's all pulling on nature and like the energy. It's like the connection into this other energy where, like, the people who are around are just connected into the 3D. People like me who are connected outside, but our society is like a trap that keeps, you know, like, people like me are weird, crazy people. It's so weird too. It's sometimes like the stuff that I think is so off from how other people think, and I know they think like, well, where do you even come up with this? It's like, it's not coming from me. It's coming from outside of me. It comes through me, and it's a connection I've had since I was a little kid. So, anyways, this hair is driving me crazy. So, anyways, this but the Cambodia thing. So this guy who was doing this video, and it's a multiple part series, so of the research into this. And it seems like he was there on some of this stuff, seeing the temples and stuff. But anyways, it was like in the 60s or the 70s, now I can't remember, but he said they just went in and were bombing and bombing. They dropped so many bombs right in the places of the temples because they're trying to hide the truth, trying to hide the history. I saw a video where somebody said this is the video that got, it was Richard Pryor had a show, and he got canceled, and they said this is the video that he did when his show got canceled, and it was in the pyramids, and he is with 3 white guys, 3 English guys, and he's the only black guy, and they're all, you know, dressed like safari clothes, you know, whatever those clothes are, back from whenever. It's been tons of movies and stuff that I've seen, so I don't know what else to call it. Like those hard hat things and these little khaki suits. So anyways, they go in there and they're like, oh, look, you know, the Book of Life is here, and the Fountain of Youth and all this stuff. So all this stuff is inside the pyramid. And so Richard Pryor starts looking through the book, and he is like, everything is about black people. He said black people. I can't remember how he wouldn't call them black people. It was like the dark people or something, but it was all their world, and it was all their thing. And he said, there's nothing in here about white people. And so the white people left and locked him in the pyramid, and then just were like, well, just gonna leave him, and then they're gonna close it off and hide the history. And that was the end of the show, and that was the end of his show. So not allowed to tell the truth. So hold on, let me get a drink. So anyways, but this other video that I was gonna say, this guy, so he was a counselor or something. He was hypnotizing this guy to take him, he said, he was trying to take him back to a time when he was, that he needed to heal from. And so, I don't know if the guy didn't, like, I don't know, because I didn't hear the whole story. I just heard this little snippet out of this podcast. And he said, so he starts, he's hypnotized him, and he says, you know, go back to a time where you need to heal from. And so the guy starts saying, okay, can't remember exactly verbatim how it went, but basically he took him to this time, and the guy, he said, okay, so how old are you? And he said, I'm 27. And the counselor guy was like, but he's really only like 20. And so I was right away thinking, okay, so he's making a fake person up now. He's making this, he's projecting all this stuff. So he starts, you know, psychoanalyzing what the guy's saying. And he said that the guy said that he was 27, and it was the year 1981. No, it was before 1981, because it was, so, okay, so he said he was 27. He asked him his name, and he wrote down his name, and he told him his name, and then he told him to go forward, and the counselor guy's thinking, you know, he's making this up, and then he goes forward, and then he goes, okay, so where are we now? And he goes, it's 1981, and he's 72 years old, and he's dying. And he says, well, are you married? And he said, yeah, my wife's right here holding my hand. Her name's Angie or something like that. And he said, well, do you have kids? He said, yeah, 2 kids. He said their name. And he said that he loves them, but they're not there right now. And he said, okay, so what's happening? He goes, oh, well, I just died. I'm above my body. And I'm some kind of an ore. I'm some kind of a light thing. I'm a light. He didn't call it an orb, but essentially that's what it was, like a round light thing. And so he goes, oh, so and he said, you know, his wife was crying and holding his hand, and he said and the guy was asking him, he's like, okay, well, I'm outside of my body now, and I'm this white light thing. And then he goes, okay, so now what's happening? And he said, well, there's another light, a bigger light up ahead. I can see it, and I feel pulled towards it. And the guy's like, well, how does that make you feel? And he goes, I feel euphoric. I feel so good. And he goes, okay, so go towards that light. And he goes, okay. So he goes towards the light, and he gets to it, and he said all of a sudden he changes, and he says, his voice like changed. And so he starts asking him like, well, who are you? And he gave him a name, and he wrote it down, and he started talking to that guy. And then I think the podcast thing cut off. And it was, and the counselor guy was really confused, but it was obviously his higher self. And I don't remember if there was more questions that he asked on that, but it's just kind of funny because like people go to counselors and counselors have no idea about the depth to you as a being, and they have no concept of even what happens after death and stuff. And we go and we trust them with helping us with our mental health. Like, you're way better off going into meditation and helping yourself, talking to your higher self. That's why I like the QHHT things, because that's what they do with intention. They go in to talk to your higher self. And when they take you in to look at a life, then you go in to look at a life, and it will be like that, little snapshot things, but they have some kind of a significance to you, why you choose that life. And I can't say, what that guy, why that was the one that he chose when he said, what is something you need to heal? It was probably, because he loved his family and he left, and then that happens. Those are the kinds of things that keep us entangled with one another. And hold on. So many supplements and stuff in my thing too. Okay, so oh yeah, and Curcumin too. I gave her Curcumin too. It's supposed to be, so there's the ginger and the turmeric and the Curcumin, I think, are all supposed to be helping with pain. So, and I don't know how much it's got to build up. Jesus Christ, she's got to take a lot for her size too. It's a lot of turmeric and ginger and stuff. So anyways, okay, so so I thought that was just interesting, that but I know that we go in and we have a higher self and stuff, because I've gone and done those QHHTs, and I had seen about them before. That's why I was interested in going to do them. That's what Dolores Cannon did. And so that's the going into depth in your hypnosis to talk to your higher self, because your higher self is it's like your conscious mind, but it's like you are unconscious to your conscious mind. And that's why I said it's like when you are connecting to the higher mind, it's like a whispering. It's like you really have to quiet your mind in order to connect to the higher version, the quieter in it. And that is also because you're not making mistakes. It doesn't need to be the loudest. It's an observation. It's an observation of experience, and it benefits from your experience. So, but you are it, but you're an aspect of it. It's you. You are the higher mind, but just like he said, when he left his body, it was like euphoric, coming back and connecting back to himself. But you can connect to yourself in life, but so many people don't know how. They don't know how to connect to themselves. And to me, that's where you benefit from acknowledging that there is one, and connecting to it through meditation or reflection. And that depends, like at these temples and the pyramids and stuff, a lot has to do with water. And then that's the thought, go down to a stream and sit by a stream and just relax and let things happen naturally. But to me, I'm always in conversation with outside of this world. I'm always in conversation outside of this world. And so that is where you have to kind of get comfortable. So you can ask questions. So if you went and sat by a stream and you just let things occur, I would say you want to initiate the conversation, kind of, but maybe so you can hear, so you can acknowledge that there's a conversation going, so you have something in mind, like something you want to work on, something you want to understand, and then you go. But you'll get insights and stuff. Like, people are always getting downloads, or to me they're insights. And so you go sit by the water. And then in the one temple where I saw the video talking, there was also the four elements. So it had the temple in the middle, and it was a representation. This was a body of water that was built like 900 years ago. And so there's this temple over here. Then there's this king who built this this other thing. So it was a body of water, and it's a square. And then in the middle of the square, he put this representation of a temple, another place. And then there's a path to go down to it. So people go here to heal, to meditate, and stuff like that, because over there, they're like raised to be this way, you know, to think about what you eat and stuff like that. It's way different. Like the Eastern philosophy is much different than the Western. And so around this square lake with the temple in the middle and the path down to the temple, but it's not a temple you would go into. It would be one you would sit out in front of. And then they had four more lakes in like north, south, east, and west, and they represented the elements of fire, water, earth, and wind. And so in each one is a representation of what it is you need to work on. And I also saw that because the tribes also were the same. Like some of this information was passed around, like I guess through the ripple effect or the monkey effect or something, because, you know, I don't know that, you know, the American tribe or the Native American, man, it's so hard to figure out, like the location of the tribes over here and the location of the tribes over there, that they were in communication, because they weren't flying around and stuff, but there were beings that were flying around, and they were going in and giving information. And so so there was more assistance, like, you know, of helping us as beings of this place to become more connected to what was real, which would be, you know, spiritual. And so, but see, they've taken it way off from that. And that's why people are so lost and people are so sad and stuff, because they're disconnected from themselves. So that's not to say that you won't get sad when you connect to yourself. You just see more purpose behind your sadness, and you try and understand it more, and you try and work through it, and instead of letting it swallow you. And so it's just another approach to life. It's a different approach, but that doesn't mean you have no problems. You'll still have problems. You're here to experience problems and how you get yourself through them. That's what life experience is all about. So the where was that one? I think it's maybe like Nevada or Arizona or something. There's some big healing lake. It could be in Canada though. I can't remember. I see so many of these different videos. But it's this big giant lake, and it has like multiple pools inside of it that are all different minerals and stuff. And so you go over to this one, it's got these. You go over to this one, so it's this very unusual lake with multiple pools of multiple areas of different minerals. And the tribes at the time used it for healing. It will heal anything. The same with that one in Cambodia I was just talking about. It would, anything you have, you can go there and heal. And so I have something else going in my mind right now. It's like a battle for my attention. So anyways, the older tribes and stuff knew that you in water has a big thing. It was even, I saw where somebody was saying that in the hieroglyphics that are over in the, in Egypt and stuff, that they show taking water and pouring it through a pine cone into copper. And see, drinking out of the copper is important, and that's probably why before we had copper pipes, but then copper pipes were too healing for us, so they had to change it over to plastic, or whatever they call that stuff. But essentially that's what it is, all our petroleum-based stuff that just emits poisons. So anyways, the uh, so all these different bodies of water have healing effects, and so the tribes knew, like, go to this one and it will heal this, go to this pool, it will heal this, and so they would use that for different healing. And so you know, we just got to get back to more of understanding them with water and with water. And then also it's also healing if you talk nice to your water before you drink it. You put positive intentions, tell it how beautiful it is, tell how much you appreciate it, and you want its knowledge or whatever. And in some cities where they have water towers, they're putting the you know, the towers attached to them, so that in that radiates or kills the water or something. So they are, there's lots of talk now with they're feeding us dead water, they're killing the water because they don't want us to heal. But that's where you can benefit, going down to streams. And but they're spraying in that too, like they're doing everything to kill everything that's, because they want control, you know, and they're happy with robots and shit. I mean, so this was the thing that was tapping in, was I had seen this video and it said that all these new patents, so they've got these patents out now that Microsoft, Meta, I don't remember, it was like 4 or 5 tech places have put in for these patents. One of them was Amazon. And I don't remember if I can remember all of the patents, but the one that stood out to me was, I'm trying to see the word, the, what is that called? It's the same thing I've been saying for so long that they did in Star Trek. When you went up and you wanted to go someplace, you went in this little capsule thing, and then you would just go, and then you would disappear in that one, and then you would come out in a different one. And so Microsoft has the patent for that now. So they're working on that. I knew that was coming. And this is the thing too, is there's this guy who keeps doing these videos on the Jetsons and the Flintstones. And these are the cartoons I grew up on. And I knew there was something weird. I was like, because I loved the Flintstones and the Jetsons. And the Jetsons, you know, as a kid, I kept being like, well, we're going to live like the Jetsons soon. And so as I've gotten older, I'm like, you know, what happened? I'm like, why aren't we living like the Jetsons? Why aren't we flying around in cars and stuff? And but it has to do with where they make money, petroleum and stuff. It has to do, like, where the battle even with Einstein and Tesla, because Tesla wanted the free energy, but see, that took all of the power. In Chase was going to support Einstein because that kept us, you know, on their stuff. They want to keep us on the petroleum and in their, I don't know, there's resources of lies and stuff, and they don't want us to advance. That's all bullshit. And they hold technology back. And so on one of the videos that he was showing, he was like, how in the, because this guy's way younger, and so he was like, look at this in the Jetsons, how they have all this stuff before we have it. Now we have this stuff, but they had it in the Jetsons. So how did they know when they were doing the Jetsons we were going to have this? Because they could already do it the whole time. Any of this stuff you see in movies and stuff, they already know how to do it. And it's like the soft disclosure. It's like the, you know, letting us know. But until we wake up and we demand, then they think that they are not affecting our free will. But there is, I don't know, I think there's a snafu in their concept of not affecting our free will. But anyways, because they were in the Jetsons, they were already using FaceTime all the time. They were teleporting, that's what it is. They're working on the teleporting. And they were in the flying cars. They're also working on the flying cars. I know that. David Wilcock talked about that a couple years ago. that there was people, he was even getting involved in the flying cars. I don't know if he still is, as I don't know what's going on. I know he's live every Sunday talking about stuff. Um, but he had said the last time I had been seeing him, he was talking about he was getting involved with uh, uh, the patents and stuff with the um, whatever, the flying cars. I keep having holograms stuck in my mind. But in the patent for the teleportation, it does bring up about the hologram. They're using holograms right now. Well, that's what we are. We are our avatars are holograms that they just feel real, and then they convince people that they are real. But yeah, when you come out, you are a ball of light. That's what your true nature of being is. That's why there's no reason you should fear the other balls of light. And all the other balls of light are just representing themselves in other holograms. And the different holograms make a difference over the environment. So, like some that have 4 fingers. Well, to us, we'd be like, well, they're missing a thumb. Well, they don't need the thumb, so they don't have it. So that's where we got to understand. We got to change our understanding about things and be more open-minded and quit thinking like this is all there is and this is the way it's supposed to be and stuff. And that we're created in God's image. Some of us are created in a lab. Like, so, so anyways, the, let's see. So, on the Jetsons, there was more, things than just that. I can't remember all the things that he was showing was like, we have this now. How'd they have it back then? And this cartoon, and because now we have all this stuff, but we don't have the flying cars. But this is one video he just showed on the Jetsons. So he was putting the Flintstones and the Jetsons together, and so he says it tells a story. And so he says that the robots, he said the robots wanted to create a world, so they made the Flintstones, and then they took the Flintstones to be their workers. So the slaves. So that part is true in the Sumerian tablets. It was advanced being scam, and they needed somebody to do the work for them. So they went to the lab and took some animals and created some beings that are now called humans, and then they because humanoid is a type of being that we were being manufactured after, or something, the template concept. So they made their slaves so that they would do the work. And so so he was saying that, so the Flintstones then did the work, and then once the work was done, then they wiped them out. Well, there's been these resets where they have done that. They have wiped out the people several times. In the Sumerian tablets, they said that they wiped them out like 3 times because they didn't like the creature that they created, and it was too animalistic or something. And so then in the cartoon, so he said then the robots took over. And so the robots had their world that was created for them, only there was the other beings that were out watching from their planet. They were watching what was going on here. And so once that was done, they came and enslaved the robots. And then they became the advanced people, but they used the civilizations or the buildings and stuff that the robots that had the Flintstones create. Only now they were, the Flintstones had these like rock houses and stuff, and the Jetsons lived in these other houses that were up on like stilts and stuff because they would fly in, which I think we're going to start having houses that are going to be like that too, which there's already a community or city somewhere, I don't remember where, but they are putting the houses up like that, which also keeps you above the water too. And so see, the water wouldn't be affecting us so much if we were up on stilts. a lot of people like wouldn't be losing their houses and stuff. So, but it'd have to be made pretty strong because some of the water they rush in is, knocking things down. So it had to be really structurally sound. But, when we know what we're working against, then we would be doing different. We're just under the control of these developers and these city planners that are under control of their own fetishes and stuff. So then he said that so the Jetsons came and they took over, and then they enslaved the robots, and the robots were then their slaves. And he was even saying, like, why do they have red eyes? Because they're demonic and all stuff. And but anyways, was that it on that? Because they enslaved them. Maybe that was it on that. But anyways, I just know that they have been holding back technology that is more advanced. Like, we could already be in flying cars and stuff, but they make money off of petroleum and rubber, the tires and stuff. And even, like, it's so ridiculous right now how they're making these cars to try and make them look so high-tech, advanced. Even this Tesla truck is so fucking weird looking. But, if we were flying around in that, I'd probably be like, oh, that's cool. But driving around in it, like, I like classic cars, and they just make cars more and more generic looking. Like, I think it'd be cool to have a classic car and be flying around in that. But, like, if they're going to start making flying cars, I hope they go back to a lot of style, not just this, like, we're all flying around in a Tesla-looking truck. Like, have us go back and like, flying around in Thunderbirds and 57 Chevys and stuff. Like, there's some, oh, I saw this beautiful car the other day. It was a 454, it was fucking totally cherry, bright yellow, a convertible. Like, this car was like, oh my God, it had to be worth so much money. And we were both getting gas at the same time. And so I was like, oh, I gotta look at your car, and walked over there, The guy was such a snob. Oh my God. Usually people, like, if they got classic cars, they're all like, oh yeah, like, and they want to talk about their car. I don't know, maybe he charges people to look at his car, I don't know. But he was not friendly at all. And, but oh my God, his car was spectacular. Oh, so cool. So cool. And my dad was somebody who, when we were kids, he was into cars, and he drove like a 57 Chevy. When he was a kid, that was the cool car, like, that drew my mom's attention, because he'd park out in front of the high school. And then but when I was a teenager, he got another one and started redoing it with my brothers, and it was super cool. But that also made my brother got one, I don't know, a few years ago, and he hasn't been doing all the stuff. I mean, he may have done some of this stuff, but he's taken it in. His car is like a car show quality car. His car is so valuable. It's fucking cool as shit. But everything is like, you go in, you have the seats roll, like, it's fancy. And but anyways, that's why I have this love of old cars, classic cars and stuff. I just, it was something my dad was really into, so I was like, oh man, that's so cool, that's so cool. And my brother had gotten a few, like, even when my dad had come to California for, the whole thing was weird, I talked about it. It was, and it was also the time when I choked him. And, yeah, he was just so drunk all the fucking time. And that was when he had told my boyfriend, he got my boyfriend to move out. It was like a whole bunch of drama, and I was just so pissed. And anyways, but I had a Mustang, and the Mustang, I talked about this too before, where the brakes went out, and my boyfriend jumped out of the car, left me in it by myself, and I crashed. And then I didn't know what to do, so I just went home. It crashed in a parking lot into a pole. Well, that's against the law. Can't do that. And so, anyways, but my dad went and got it. And he did a lot of good things. If he wouldn't have been a drunk perv, it would have been great. But anyways, so he went and got my car, took it back, and I wouldn't let him stay at my house because I couldn't let him be around my kids. He had to stay at some hotel. And I don't remember, I don't know, he probably ran out of money or something. I don't know. I don't remember what all happened. This is back in the days where he was, become like a homeless, druggy kind of guy. But anyways, but he still could work on cars. And so he went and found another Mustang and started putting them together. And oh my God, I loved that car. And it was, I think these were 65 Mustangs. And he put it together, so I had another fucking cool ass car. And then I got hit again. And it was like, God, I swear to God, am I even allowed to love things in this life? I was so crushed. But at the same time, my brother was doing a 454 GTO. That was what I'd seen at that thing. My brother's was orange. The one at the gas station that was bright yellow, and it was a Corvette. I mean, a convertible. That was the other thing my dad always had was Corvettes. And I would always get to drive around the Corvette. I drove around in Corvettes when I was a teenager, when other kids were, I get to drive around. But that is what I told this other story too, because of one of my friends who said, she was going to go sleep with my dad and drive around in his Corvette. And then kids at school were coming up to me, oh, Kay was driving your dad's Corvette around. I was like, oh, damn. So anyways, there was so much weird stuff in my life. But anyways, back off of there. But yeah, if we're going to have other cars, I hope that they have more style like that. I don't know that we could have convertibles. Maybe that it would be too windy. I don't know. And I don't know how high they're going to go off the ground. Maybe when they're hovering, we're not going to be down hitting animals, and not too high where we're hitting birds. I don't know. But anyways, there was more stuff on the Jetsons thing that he had shown that we already have in our technology besides the FaceTime. I just don't remember devices that we could carry around, because on the Jetsons they had devices that, like, they would be standing in line talking on something that he said is the same thing as like how we have iPads and stuff. So you'd be doing FaceTime in lines, waiting, talking to people. There was a bunch of stuff. So anyway, but I know the technology that was in the Jetsons was always available, but they kept it hidden from us for, because they want to keep us under their control. But but let me think. I finished off of that because it seems like because this other thing keeps pulling me over here. So this other thing was this video, and it was Mr. Ballin, and when quarantine first started and I was in isolation, then I found all these things on YouTube that I'd never seen before. So it was that's when I saw all these people who were live all the time, and they were always talking about stuff that was going on, but it ended up being all these people were considered red, and I was blue. And it was funny too, because there was one that I would talk, and he would be talking on the thing, and he would be talking to me, and it was like, oh, you're a liberal. Oh, well, it was so weird for there was not that many of us that were starting to cross over at that time. And so it was still very much over here was all these ones, and over here was all these ones. But there wasn't so much crossover. Then there started being those of us who started crossing over. Now there's tons of crossover. And that's why it's more harder to watch the people that are still trapped, because I know what they are. I know how they feel. I know what they're hearing. I know, I understand. I understand them. And so, but we're all here to experience our experience, and they've got things that are coming up that they're here for. It's this seeing this side of themselves, He's the catalyst to bring the hate up inside of them, but they have to see it for themselves. So that's what they're, and I don't know their whole soul's journey, their whole life journey, so I don't know, why we all picked different things to go through, or different times to wake up, but that's just the way it is. And because I tried so hard to wake so many people up, and you can't. My mom gets really frustrated, like, because she thinks, well, they're all so stupid. It's like, no, I was one. It's the media. It's what they hear. It's like they hear completely different things, and you know, it's not like they're hearing your stuff and that they believe that. No, so it's totally different. Just you know, and it's crazy too because you know when I hear, you know, because I was up there yesterday cooking tempura for an hour and a half. Like, fuck, man, that takes a goddamn time to cook. Then, she's in there frying it. Like, and her fryer's not that big, and I made way too much. So, anyways, it took a long time. And hearing the talk is always just like, all I hear is programming and indoctrination, and division and hate. And I know the other side's getting the same thing, but each side doesn't realize that it's being told to them in two different fashions. That's why they all have to drop their shit and start talking to each other, because then you get a whole new insight. But you know that's not what's going to happen. How it goes. It's now we're reached the point of they're going to have to witness their own hate. Something's going to show them their own hate, their own divisive side of them, because they've got to release it. Or that's what your challenge is, to be here to work on it. That's why there's so much of it. So anyways, this so I had seen all those people live, and that's when and at the time, see, I was more watching spiritual stuff, like watching Dolores Cannon things, QHHTs, Allison Coe, all of that kind of stuff. There was a few different spiritual people on at the time. I don't even see them anymore. I don't know if they're still out there, if there's just more on now, but I don't go on looking anymore. But then I was, you know, going and looking. I would watch channelers and all sorts of stuff back then. But that is when I started seeing the live things and started hearing these people and seeing, because I was already waking up. I was already woke to a lot of the stuff. And that's when I started noticing, like, oh my God, the people on the blue side, the people that I'm splitting off from, and I wasn't going into this side. I feel like I'm in the middle now. I can see this side and I can see this side. I can understand, but I'm not choosing sides. But what I started noticing was on the blue side, they were just totally asleep. And that's what was blowing my mind with all these spiritual people, and they were totally asleep. They were like, get these on, get these. It was like this totally different thing. And the other side, they were like, you don't do this, don't do this. You know, it was like, what the fuck? And I knew not to do this, and I knew not to do this because of my medical background, and that's what was blowing my mind on the stuff, you know, where I was like, what is wrong with these medical people? Like, it was weird. When you start waking up and you start seeing it, it's like, what the fuck is going on, man? And I was like, I couldn't figure out what was going on for a long time. It was when my neighbor, one of the times when her gate kept being open. And I was like, your gate's open and your dogs are getting out. And she told me I was lying. She can see her gate perfectly fine, and on her cameras, and her gate's not open. I was like, dude, I'm sitting right here. I see your gate's open. Like, I'm sitting looking out the window, looking at the gate. I'm not looking on the fucking thing, and I see your dogs going down the road. It's like, your gate. But anyways, it was the whole thing. And that was like where I was like, what the fuck is going on? And that's when I started realizing about the awakening and the awareness, and the way that they keep our minds in this trap and stuff. It's like people aren't aware, they aren't paying attention to things, they aren't looking at things. So anyways, it was all this whole thing, you know, of going through the understanding and seeing and stuff. But there was all these things that was just like, what? But at the time, I also found this guy, that chapter, but I can't listen to his stuff anymore. Well, there was a couple of times when he said a couple of videos, and I was like, man, he's just not awake at all. One of them was, he was telling a story about a guy who committed some crime or got blamed for some crime, and he was trying to like run from, he was trying to hide out. He kept saying the government was after him, the government was trying to get him. He was saying people were coming into his apartment messing with things. They were talking to him in his head and stuff, and that chapter guy was like, oh my god, what a fool, what a, you know. And I was like, okay, I can't listen because you don't understand what's going on in the world. And so, and then it just got too dark. It was just too much about murder, murder, murder. And I was just like, oh, this is such a downer. But for a while, you know, in isolation for a couple of years, I think, listening to those stories, it was like all sorts of interesting stories. But then it just got to be too much a downer. The same with Mr. Ballin. He would tell all sorts of crazy ass stories of crazy things, but it started being like, oh, this is just kind of, I don't know, so many horrible things, crazy ass things, you know, people going to this lake place and there's signs up to say don't go in the lake, but then they go in the lake and then they all get killed and stuff. It's just horrible. Some of the most horrific, crazy ass ways that people would die. Go listen to his show. There's so many. But he would tell some spooky stories and stuff, so he was a good storyteller. But anyways, it started getting like, I started realizing, this is just stressing me out. I can't listen. So I stopped listening to him too. But both of those two I listened to all the time. So I was on YouTube all the time during quarantine. Because I would listen to the live guys and go in and comment, talk to the people, because it would be the same people all the time. And then there would be people who would go from one live to go to these other guys and stuff. And so it was like, I don't know, it was like a community kind of built around, you know, don't trust the government. And so and they're out to get us. So it was like all this conspiracy of all these people all coming together and being like, the government's out to get us. And so I enjoyed that. And then I enjoyed the stories for a while because it was a distraction through quarantine. But then it started, you know, getting me kind of downer. But anyways, but this one was Mr. Ballin. And so I almost didn't listen because it was like, God, is it going to really fucking freak me out? And a guy put on this movie the other day called In Dreams, and it started getting me too freaked out. I was like, fuck, I can't even finish this. But and usually I could watch all that stuff, but I don't know, something's changed. Like I haven't been smoking. I mean, I quit that one day. It was like, whatever, something started coming in and it was weird. And it was like, see ya, I'm not doing that anymore. So, and I'm not going to say, I'm never drinking again. I'm never going to smoke a joint again. I'm not going to say that because, I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll have a drink at some point. Maybe I'll have a beer or a margarita or something. I don't know. I just don't have it where I want to at this point in my life. And it's the same with smoking. You know, I can't say that one day I won't be like, hey, yeah, I'll smoke with you. I don't know. So I'm not going to cut myself off and say I refuse, or, you know, but right at this point in time, then I'm not doing any of that stuff. But oh yeah, so the story, it was good. I'm so glad I listened. And so this one was so it was a story that happened in Mexico. And it was a town, like Pueblo or something. And, no, Pueblo maybe was the one with the horrible cartel situation. I may be getting the place mixed up. I can't remember the name of the city, maybe, that this happened in. But they buried the information. And so they hid all the information from this thing that happened. And so, and they have a lot of, alien kind of stuff that happens there. In South America, too, in Central America, there's a lot. So anyways, but in this story, so this guy, he was, that was confirmation, that he was wanting to learn how to fly a plane. He was pretty young, and so he was taking classes. And so this was, I think it was his first time to go up on his own. So he was supposed to go up on his own, go up, turn a circle, and then come back and land. That's all he was supposed to do. Go up, turn a circle, and come back and land. And when you're learning to fly, you got to get all these hours in. And so I think it's all under supervision or something. I don't remember. It's like you got to do like 1,800 hours to get your pilot license or something under someone's supervision. But this was his first time going up by himself. So he went up and he starts going, but the plane won't turn. So he's trying to turn it, and it won't turn. And then he's trying to turn it the other way. It won't turn. He's trying to go on the radio, and it won't work. Nobody's answering him. And then all of a sudden, so it just keeps going straight. And he's kind of like, he doesn't know what to do. He's calling in, and nobody will answer. He's trying to see out, but he can't see anything. He can't see where he's at. And everything looks kind of misty and gray. Well, I've been in there before. I've been in the misty gray. Which I was thinking it even kind of trips me out. All these people who are into, I've said stuff about this before, but anyways, the astral projectors and stuff, because you're coming out, like I look at this as like a suit of armor. Your avatar protects you. So you are inside this avatar, is like in this realm, and it's like a protection. Even though it can get injured and stuff, and you don't get injured, you just come out. But the people who astral project and come out, and in this realm, down in this realm, because I don't think that they're going up into higher ones. They're staying down. To me, I don't know. There's something creepy about it, and that's being monitored too. Like the Men in Black, whoever they're called now, they monitor these other realms and stuff. You're monitored everywhere you go, and you can be like that one guy who was astral projecting all the time. He got taken, and I bet you there's more that get taken. I bet you there's people that come out and get taken, and then people think they're in a coma or something. But he said when they approached him, because they were watching him for a long time, and then they could see that he was moving through the realm different than what, like us in a dream. And so while we're in a dream, it's different. When you're astral projecting, then so you're moving through differently. And and he said that they were watching him, and then one of the times they approached him and they just took him, and he was in this room, and they were talking to him. They were trying to get him to, because that's all they want is anybody who has any kind of powers or something, all they want to do is control you. They want to, and that's what their whole gate program, that's when, and that testing, where my guides told me don't do that test, just color in the circles, don't try and really give them the information they're looking for. That was a part of their search for abilities, because they're always and the whole thing with the gate program, because my daughter was in it, and because she did get taken, and they were trying to wipe them because they don't want people who are out connected, because they don't want people to wake other people up. They want to keep them trapped. So anyways, but anyways, that's a sidebar. But so this guy, he's in this plane, and so he's going, and he can't control the plane, and everything's misty. And when I came out of my body, everything was misty looking. So it was like, where I just thought that there was a smoke. I thought there was, it confused me, because I was like, why does it look so smoky, but I don't smell smoke? But all this happened so fast. So because it tripped me out. I was outside of my body. And and then when I got sucked back in, it was like a vacuum sucking me through my feet. But but I didn't get sucked back in until I realized I was out. When I looked at my body and I put it two and two together, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm over here, but my body's over there. That's when it like sucked me back in. But anyways, so But the fog, the other realm, this, going through a portal kind of situation. So this guy, he's flying his plane, and he is can't get it to turn, and then it starts rising, and so as it's rising, he falls asleep, and then he's blinked out until he wakes up again. And when he wakes up again, he doesn't know where he's at, and he's still confused. And so where he was so the radio starts talking, and so he starts talking on the radio, and he's like, I don't know where I'm at, I think I fell asleep. And the tower guy, he's like, well, are you alone? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, you're in Acapulco. And so Acapulco is 3 hours flight from where he was. And it was like 11:15 or something at this time. And he had left at 9:15. So there was no way he could be in Acapulco without a portal. And so he was in Acapulco. It was 11:15. He had left at 9:15 or something, and the radio controller guy, I don't know if I don't know that they start telling him everything right now, but he had been talking to him for an hour, so he had been gotten to someplace 3 hours away within 1 hour, and he had just blipped onto the radar at this airport. So he just came out of nowhere. He was all of a sudden in their radar, and the radio controller guys started talking to him, and and that happened like at 10:15. Well, so now it's 11:15, and the guy just woke up, and so they talk him down to land and stuff, and they get him to land, and he goes, and he said immediately when he got landed that these men in black suits grabbed him up and took him. They took him to the hospital immediately, and started questioning him and checking him and testing him and doing all this stuff. And so the thing that they buried was the transcripts that happened between 10:15 and 11:15. So at 10:15, this radio controller guy, he has this blip come onto his radar. And so he starts asking, who are you? What are you doing? And stuff. And he said this voice comes over that was like a robotic kind of voice. And so the voice began to tell him that they were beings from somewhere else, that they were just like us, and that they were trying to help us. And he said they've been watching us. Confirmation. I don't even know what the fuck that was. Something over there that just all of a sudden fell. Oh, yeah. So the so weird. Confirmation though, because they're around us trying to help us. They are. And so anyways, this stuff so weird, because I know it's real, but when it's like it happens in the physical, it just trips me out. So anyways, so in the transcripts, so they say, well, who are you? And he gives them a name, and spells it. But this is where I was getting it mixed up with the psychologist who was doing the thing, is on the name thing. But I'm sure they asked him his name, and he wrote it down or something. But see, that's where I'm getting mixed up with this. So because it's in this transcript. So anyways, no. Okay, that was the other guy. His higher self gave a name. No, this one, he said the name doesn't matter. And he said it doesn't matter what our name is. And see, that's always the feeling I've gotten. That's why it always weirds me out when these people are always like, God, something's tickling the shit on my nose. Hold on. They were spraying the shit out of the sky yesterday too, and then I went and floated in the lake in the afternoon after the grooming thing. So breathing in all that shit. I even did a sky video yesterday on TikTok. It was wacky looking. I couldn't even believe it. So, and they were spraying, they made a big X. They was just doing all sorts of stuff. So, all the shit that we breathe in. So anyways, so in this transcript, the being says that we've taken over his body. We're talking through him. He has no awareness of what's happening. And the radio controller guy is like, what do you mean? Like he's hypnotized or something? And the advanced beings are, like, well, essentially, yes, we have taken his body over. We're trying to communicate with you people, and we're trying to help you. We're trying to give you information that will help you. And I can't remember all the information they was giving. If they were saying, like, that we were being used or whatever. But anyway, so this whole transcript happened for this hour of this conversation between this radio controller and these advanced beings, and then they let go, and they let the guy come back, and that's when the guy thought he woke up. He's like, I think I fell asleep. I've been asleep. And he had no recollection of any of it, of any of the conversation, none of it. And obviously he went through a portal because the way that it looked, where it became smoky and stuff, but they took control over his plane. And that also happened with, I think it's Admiral Byrd, that they had taken control of his plane. And then in his mission was, wherever he was flying, I think it was around Antarctica. And and then his plane was taken over, and then they took his plane in and landed. Because if it goes through these portals, it's like this going through like the vibration. So every realm, every place, like our place that we're at is a vibration. So we're in a realm that's vibrating at a certain speed, and that speed is it creates what would be the reality. And in this one, because it's low vibration, it is these other beings that are like at least trying to take us over. They have, I mean, there's a lot of takeover confirmation that they have mind control over people, but that's in this vibration. But there's the other vibrations around, just like I said, there's like all these realities like spinning around each other. And even where we think like the different states are a part of all the same reality, the different countries, we're all in the same reality, but no, it's all these different things going at different speeds. They're all different realities. But they have umbrellaed us under like this firmament of like a location of an experience of reality. And so it's, and that's why, we need access to the portals, because the portals then move you out of through the different realms. And that's why I said, once we get access to the portals, we would be able to move through faster. I think that we're at different, like they tell us we're all like flat out here, just like they tell us time is linear, but it's not. It's all just windows of time. It's like time being a building, and each window is a different time frame. It's not linear. It's just different experiences. And so yeah, and so that's why you could be in the building and be able to access all the different times, but there's different realms and realities, and there's so many, there's just so much. And but in this communication with that radio controller, he said we are light years away from you. And but light years to me isn't like we would have to travel years to get there. It is a different vibration. And so it's a concept kind of like where that vibration is and where we are. Well, we're, you guys are years away from being where we're at, kind of more. And so, see, we're being watched all over the place. And so the yeah, kind of like how we watch people's stories on the TV. We are the stories on other people's TVs. So, anyways, so the portals are the gaps in between the different vibrations, so you can go from one vibration into a next one real quick, so you don't have to. I don't know. This whole thing of travel is all a way of controlling us, and so that we have to move through their system in the way that they direct us. But that's why, when their system breaks down, I think we're going to have access to the portals. But they're also going to have these teleportation machine things that they're working on, because I know that I can see that stuff ahead. But but we're also going to start getting more access to portals. I don't know if there's a portal map or what the hell it's going to be, but I think probably that there's a reason why they're doing so much, trying to burn the Grand Canyon down right now too. And I know there's portals through there. And so, because there's portals in the forest, there's portals in the sky, there's portals all around. And you can go through one and you're in a different place, or a different time. It just depends on what it is, where it leads you. And so but when you go through the portal, there is like this smoky kind of look to things. When you go out into these other realms, it looks different than how this looks, where everything looks pristine and perfect and stuff. And when you go into there, it's way more like, ooh, foggy looking. So it's not the same. And a lot of people, when they go on drugs and stuff like that, they go into those kind of places where they can go through. A lot of people go through and go into other places. Like, I know that one time when I did those mushrooms that last time, well, I did a tiny bit a couple more times after that, but every time, I don't know, I've got something like weird with mushrooms or something. But when I had done them that one time, and I drank that tea, thank God I didn't drink the whole cup, but I totally went to some place, and I was at this place, and I could see these symbols and stuff, and it was like I could feel the music, like I was like feel like the music, and then but I could see all these people dancing, and it was like this rave or something, and then and it freaked me out. I was like, geez, get out of here. And so I pulled back into myself. And then I was looking out the window, and that's where I could see this golden path through the forest. And I was like, oh, there's a magic path right through, like going through my yard, which would be a different vibration, which I was always saying there's other, fairies and stuff around here. But they're all over in the place, in forests and stuff like that. And but the thing why I know that I went to a real place was because then my neighbor, who, he was a tripper, and he was the one, who was into the mushrooms and stuff. And he would send me these videos and stuff. And he sent me this video of this rave of all these people dancing and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, that's where I was at. I was at that. I went, or it was one just like it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really went somewhere. So anyways, but I think when you do those hallucinogenics or whatever, the plant medicine stuff, the ayahuasca and stuff, that you go out, like you go out of your body and you go someplace else. And these mushrooms, but I pulled myself back. But I don't know, you get lost out there, I swear to God. But anyways, what did I finish saying about that? Okay, so so you have all these different realities going all around. And so on the Admiral Byrd one, so he flew through a portal, And so they took over his plane and they pulled him down into a place that was like by the Antarctica. Because the Antarctica, well, the reason they don't want us around there is because there's portals and we're under the firmament, so we're under an umbrella. But it's splitting apart right now. That's why the sky's so wacky, and that's why they're spraying the shit out of it so we don't see up there, I think. And so but he got pulled into a civilization that is like by the Antarctica. And so to us, we could be looking at it as like ice, but in their vibration, it's a whole city. So as our awakening occurs and we start to see more things around us, we'll start, people are seeing like there's a city in the sky, there's cities in the ocean, because they're everywhere, all around us. And but that's when we have to pull into our inner knowing and connect to our higher selves and stuff and get out of this created story that they've made here to trap us. So so when Admiral Byrd, I think that's what his name is, he went, you can look up about this story, but there was another one too where they tried to hide the information. And say, oh, he's crazy, but I guess he wrote a book too. But when he went in, then they took control of his plane and out it landed, and then guys were there right away and took him in to talk to their leader. And their leader told him a whole bunch of information, just like these beings were trying to tell this radio control guy. And they were saying, they're trying to help humanity, trying to help us. And he said, all of we're just the same. They also are humanoid type people, and that they, I don't know why, something about the, because most of the other beings are darker complected. I don't know what. There was some kind of thing I'd seen, but I already knew that from a while ago, but there was something else where there was some thing about that I had seen recently. But I know that the other beings that are mostly dark, like white people, is not a thing. It's, most of the aliens have a skin tone kind of thing. So, I think that this creation of white people is to try and remove the melanin or something, because it minimizes, it takes away more of the communication through your spirit, removing like iron and melanin and stuff like that, like these conductors for your spirit to be able to communicate outside of itself. So it's more to restrict you and keep you more trapped as a spirit, like imprisoned into your avatar until they can suck your consciousness out and use it for their own devious behavior. So anyways, the Admiral Byrd guy, if that's his name, he got a whole bunch of good information too. They told him a whole bunch of stuff when he was in there, but then the government just tries to bury it all the time. They don't want us to know because they want to keep us trapped in their system of ignorance, and where they control you. But it's just so weird because ignorance, you just got to connect outside of yourself to see. But people are so trapped in this way of seeing that is so artificial and superficial, and it's weird because there's just so many people. I talk to people all the time and they can't see outside of this world, and which always makes me out to be the weirdo, but I know it's real. And I know that they're the ones that are trapped, and you got to open up. Oh, Max is going crazy with this itching. I just can't figure out, because he'll start itching his ear, itching his ear, itching his ear. And then he'll start acting like his paw hurts. So then he'll start licking his paw. And then he'll start licking his body like everything's just hurting, which my tooth is hurting. I think he maybe hit into his sore on his eye. But he won't let me touch him. If I even come near him, he takes off running. Um, and yesterday, my mom was like, well, give him some melatonin and we'll try and put him to sleep and then we'll try and do it. He's so anxious and so alert, even on the melatonin. I can try and give him a big dose, but, you know, I don't want to hurt him. I don't want to damage his liver or something. Like, Stella can take a lot because she's of her weight, but he's like, I don't know, 48 pounds or something. So I don't know. I just got to keep trying to figure out, because the whole thing is you go in and try and, you know, get a vet to diagnose, and then they are guessing too. They just guess and they charge you a fortune, and then all their whole thing is to just get him on drugs. It's like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to, you know, pay attention to his symptoms, try and figure it out and help him, and help him with his symptoms. But I want access to these med beds. My mom said she did hear something on the TV where they were saying, Donald, they were repeating, you know, replaying something or talking about what he had said or whatever, and that he said that they're going to be sending money out to lower income people, which I think that's most of us. And so, anyways, we'll see. I know they're supposed to, because I know they're supposed to raise Social Security. They're supposed to be sending out checks for these different things. So I don't know. There just keeps being this talk of money and the Fed going down and stuff. But it's all this such a drawn out show. Like, it's such a, and I know that there's a purpose behind it, but for fuck's sake, man. But we have to, it's once that stuff starts rolling is supposedly when we start rolling into the med bed situation. But not everybody's going to get to access them because it's going to depend on your vibration. But there is one for animals, and that's what, you know, I keep on trying to just keep working on their symptoms, trying to take care of them and get them in there and let the med beds, you know, get them in a better vibration, because, you know, all these poisons and stuff that everybody's breathing in, you know, if that's causing him to have a lot of pain and inflammation, and I don't know, like, I've given him the you know, trying to do the cleanses and stuff. So if he's got some kind of parasite that he got living in the street or whatever, I'm trying to work on that too. I'd give him stuff for pain too. I give him the CBD. We are going through so much CBD like lately. I can't even believe it. When I told my mom, she was like, "You're going through way too much, man. That's expensive. You gotta find something else." But I've tried all that. I've tried finding other things, you know, and that's why I'm trying to add in the turmeric and the ginger and stuff. But I can't stop the CBD. But I may try a new brand or something and see maybe. But she's snoozing right now on it. But man, we go through so much. Oh my God. It's crazy how much CBD I go through. And now, especially because Max is taking it just as often as Stella is. But man, I feel bad for him. I feel bad that he's so untrusting too of people. I don't know whoever hurt him or whoever, you know, I don't know. He's a sweet guy though. And I hate to see him not feel good. He is not feeling good lately, but he can stand to lose a couple pounds. So I freaked out before when Stella had skipped some meals, but then when you find out about fasting, your body heals. Fasting is really good for you when you're trying to heal something. So him not eating isn't hurting him. It's only skipped, I think, last night. I don't think he ate, but he had some treats yesterday afternoon. So not eating last night, not eating yet this morning. That doesn't mean you won't eat at some point. Oh wait, I did give him some of those. My mom has dry food for them, and both these little guys act like it's you know, it's as good as a treat. They get so excited to get junk food. Oh, buddy. So, anyways, but my tooth. Oh my God, it's been hurting. So, I did use the Uncle Harry's or whatever yesterday. I'm not going to use the fig again because there's this thing with the nanoparticles and the synthetic and them not doing the benefits inside of us. Like, that's why I said about the B12 too. All this different, it's a lot of vitamins that people go and take, and they think that they're getting some benefit, but it's synthetic and it's not giving you the benefit. You got to figure out how to get the the purest forms of these vitamins and minerals. It's like, that's why I like the being able to drink out of the copper cup, because it puts the stuff in, and the cast iron. But it's like, I need way more iron, but I'm not going to go eating animals. And now I'm like, even on this whatever what is it called, the mallow, the beef mallow, whatever, and I can't think what it's called, but for your skin, which it does make it super soft. And I try and think, okay, well, they're gonna kill the cows anyways, so I can't stop them, and they may as well use all of the stuff than waste it. So tallow, beef tallow for your skin. So it's like, oh man. And then this beef liver iron supplement, it's like, oh man. But I think collagen is also something from animals. So it's like, fuck. No, because I don't want to be all entangled in all of this, murdering all these animals, taking their lives. We all come in to live free. Right now, it's just it is a spectacle. It's crazy, all the stuff going on. So, but I know where we're going is going to be different. Where we're headed is going to be a lot more respect for life. And we're going to have a lot more respect for all living things. And we're going to have a lot more at that point. That's when we'll start really interacting with beings from other places and stuff. And we'll start getting more access to go to other places, because, we're going to change our attitude. We're going to wake up and grow up a little bit and have more respect for life and all living things, and the connecting to creation, and quit thinking, about this pleasing a God and stuff like that. And it's just so weird. Is yesterday, the grooming thing, and when I was washing and stuff and blow drying, so then I didn't have to hear so much, because I don't know, I don't like that. It was so much of, just tell Jesus, just talk to Jesus, give it to Jesus and stuff like that. It's like, you gotta work on you. You can't just give all your problems. And then there's also another thing that's very much in that indoctrination is, you aren't worthy, you can't do it by yourself, there's nothing you can take care of, you need Jesus to do it and stuff. It's like, you gotta get off of that mindset. You gotta realize, like, it's up to you. You gotta save yourself, and you do have the abilities. You do have all the tools you need to wake up and see the truth. And they want to just keep you trapped. Religion is such a keeping you under their thumb trap, and to control your spirit. And then the way that they use this negative, judgmental hierarchy, hatefulness, division, and we're going to heaven, but you're not. You're going to burn in hell. You got to say his name, or you're going to hell too. And then once you're in the group that says his name, then you're accepted. It's a very close-knit, it's a group that not everybody's invited to. So anyways, like, these ones all see themselves as being, accept the chosen hierarchy, whatever, and then the other people, they aren't worthy, unless you say his name, unless you take a knee, unless you join the group. It's like, I don't know, it's just all this. But everybody's got things to break free from. Once you break free and you see, but you have the answers inside you, you just got to connect to the resource that's inside of you, the orb that lives inside of you, and stop, connecting outside of you. But your higher self isn't going to force you to do it. Your higher self is just in witness, it's just watching. It's an observation, and understanding itself of, what pulls it in what directions, why it goes this way, why it goes that way. And it's just trying to understand itself. It's not in judgment of itself. But, when you go and you've done some fuckery, and then you realize, like, oh, I was being watched, then, you will feel a judgment, but it's not God outside of you. It's just part of your process. And we're going to see a lot of people, as this awakening occurs, we're going to witness what it is when people are in judgment of themselves, because they're going to feel so much shame and so much guilt, and they're going to internalize it and turn it into hating themselves. But that's the journey, is pulling yourself out of the hating yourself. And you know what I'm going to say? So we better look at this before I say it, because you have to pull yourself out of the hating yourself and learn how to love yourself. Because learning how to love yourself is the key. It's the key that you're looking for, and it's a process, and it's a jungle out there, and you got to, you know, get through it and find your way. And it's be a dark path, but you have to trust yourself. The light is ahead, just like that guy when he came out of his body. He's like, there's a light up there. And when it's pulling towards it, it feels euphoric. And that's what you will find, is that you can pull yourself towards it. And then everybody who's out here in the dark is going to keep telling you you're crazy. There's nothing up there. Well, you can see it, you know, so go towards the light of you, the future that it's showing you. Go towards your best version of yourself. But you got to pull free from the trap, the control, and the mind control, and the programming that has been bestowed upon you. So, in the process, though, you got to learn how to love yourself. You got to learn how to love everybody, and you got to learn how to have the day you want to have, because it really is up to you. It depends on where you put your energy and how you look at things. Your perspective is everything. It's your gold mine. So, anyways, open your perspective and look a little deeper. And anyways, we'll talk about it again tomorrow. So, talk to you. Did you see that? Confirmation. We're getting a lot of confirmation this morning. So, anyways, talk to you tomorrow. Bye.